What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Grind Force Gaming. Nova here, and today I'm doing a tier list about the Street Fighter Duel fighters and sharing a little bit about how I feel about them and who I think are going to be the highest priority. Now, that being said, I know that maybe you won't agree with this. Maybe you'll think that some fighters are better than others, or you'll think that I maybe have some of them in the wrong tier. But I will say that I do believe the tier list changes depending on how far you have progressed in the game. So early on in the game, some fighters might be higher value than others. And as you progress farther, you might find that they aren't really cutting it for you anymore. So with that being said, this is where I find myself feeling right now about these fighters. I am in story chapter 25. I just recently got there. I blew through 22, 23, and 24 just the other day, like all in one day because of one fighter. And that is why I thought, I think I should probably do a tier list here, because if other people are struggling, especially in the earlier stages, like they're having problems with like 1040 and 1240, I see this in global chat all the time, it's probably because you're just focusing on using the wrong fighters, to be honest with you. So I hope that this can help you. And if you do have other thoughts about who should be in different tiers, or we should maybe move some fighters around, I'd love to see that in the comments. I'd love to have some open discussions about it and hear what you guys think. So that being said, let's just jump right into it. First fighter we have here is Abel. Not a big fan. He's very annoying to fight against in events and in the regular story modes as well. But like PvP, I don't really know. I don't see people using him. I'm not so sure I see much value. Poison is awesome. I kind of have, a little bit back and forth here with her. Is she S? Is she A? I'm not really sure. She has great AoE. She has silence. That's an amazing mechanic in game. I think if the silence lasted a little bit longer, that might make her S tier. But she's really good. I don't have her built right now, but someone else in our guild does, and she's very difficult to deal with when we spar. So she's definitely very, very strong. Maybe let's bump Abel down to B, because I don't think that they're like in the same level, right? So let's keep Poison A. We'll put Abel in B. Adon, I'm going to put in B as well. He does have some interesting mechanics. I think he could be very good, but I just haven't really been able to get things to like work with him in the way that I kind of feel like they should. Especially with like his grave injury and that kind of thing. I do like the ability to decrease healing. That could be very important, but for now we'll leave him in B. Beast Zangief, I mean, without a doubt, that is an S fighter for sure. I think that his second skill, his ability to interrupt and also to block projectiles, is extremely powerful, so I would definitely recommend keeping him there. Bison, I mean, that's an SS for sure. If you are not using Bison and you have him, then you are doing something wrong. This is an absolutely amazing fighter to use, and I really can't stress this enough. The way that he functions, I know he's not like the tank class, but he is incredible. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me here. Bison is definitely probably the most OP fighter in the game right now. Blanca, I'm going to go ahead and put an A as well. He's got some stun, he's got some interrupt. He's really great on the tag position coming in with skill 1. I use that a lot, and it's very helpful. I would say Cammy. I will probably put Cammy in S, but that comes with the reasoning that she's very good in the events and she's very good at like the boss nodes and things like that. So she's not necessarily going to be that great in like the PvP game modes like Arena and things like that, because she doesn't have any AoE, but she is stacking armor break. She does have some really high damage for single target, and she can really set up another fighter, which actually I'm going to skip past Charming Dudley because this just makes sense. It's going to be Chun-Li. These two pair very well together, and they also pair very well with Zangief, and they're all the same faction, so that's extremely helpful. I do think that Chun-Li deserves an S spot just because of her crit and her speed. When you get her fighting spirit up, she's going to be adding more speed every time she lands crits, and that is amazing. She's got great AoE. She's just a really good fighter to use, and especially free to play, right? Like, you're going to have access to these top 3 here, to be Zangief, to Cammy, and to Chun-Li right away. So, why not build these 3? Because they're going to be great for you in the early game for sure. And interrupt is honestly maybe the most broken mechanic in the game, because you will totally stop the combo of an enemy team if you time things perfectly with Beast Zangief and you have that second skill come in. It's really good. Charming Dudley, I'm going to put him down in B. He's not bad, but he's not great either. I don't know that there's necessarily like a specific use case for him that I can think of off the top of my head, so we'll just throw him in B. We've got Combat Guile here. I'm going to put him in A. Great AoE. He's really strong in the back line. He can be very difficult to deal with. I used him through a lot of the early story nodes, and he was extremely helpful, so we'll put him here as well. I stopped using him because I found a lot more value in Chun-Li, so we'll leave her in S, and we'll drop him down here, even though they kind of are similar, I think, in value. Sea Viper, I have not used that much, but I know that she's very strong. I know a lot of people do use her. I have heard that she kind of falls off in the end game, but we'll put her here in A. Decapre, we'll drop down here in B. She does some really good single target damage hitting the back line, and I think she has some value. You know, if you're using her with a fire team, I would definitely use her with a fire team, but I think as far as like mixing and matching for other teams, I wouldn't put her higher than that. Now, DJ, I don't think you want to spend much time on him or really use him at all. I wouldn't say don't use him, but I would definitely, he'd be like a last pick, I think, for sure. Dhalsim Dhalsim's going up in S as well. And I know that you could maybe make the argument that if you have the Fashion Blanca, that maybe you could knock Dhalsim down. But I will say that I would leave him in S as well. He's going to be one of your highest AoE damages in the early game. Dhalsim will be, and then once you get Fashion Blanca, he's going to take over that role, I think, as far as dealing flame damage goes. But I think that they both deserve that spot, and I think the reasoning behind that is because you don't necessarily have to have them on the same team. Like, one doesn't have to replace the other. You can use them both together, and I think that that's going to be extremely powerful. I don't have him yet. I've got another day or so before I get the unlock for that, but I've been able to use him in some events, and he's very, very good. Dudley, I'm going to put him down in C as well. I just don't see much value for him. Elena, definitely S, and I'm kind of tempted to throw her in SS, and I think I will, and the reason being is that she's the best healer in the game. Like, she's just not rivaled in any way in that sense. So it doesn't make sense really to dock her down below the SS category, because there's no one that compares to her or is going to do better than her at the role that she has, right? And that being said, I honestly feel that way about Sakura. I know that she does some healing and stuff like that. She's a pay to win, so I don't have her. But I think that she's very good. I've seen her perform extremely well in Arena and also on some, like in the events and things like that. She does very well. But I wouldn't say that she's better than Elena. I will put her, see, that's tough. I don't have her, so it's kind of tough for me to say, because I haven't done my own testing and seen like any direct change in how my lineups are working based on whether I'm using her or not. But we'll put her in A because I think that she's good. I kind of feel like she falls in the same realm as like Blanca, as an example. And this isn't in any like particular order, like S priority, like 1, 2, 3. It's not like that. I'm just putting these in here, but I think that these two are kind of similar as far as like how a role is concerned. You could make the argument that she'd be S, but again, she's pay to win, so maybe we just leave her in A because most of you aren't going to have her anyway. Fei Long, I mean, I wouldn't use him. Gen or Jen, people pronounce his name differently. I'll put him in S. He's very strong. He has a really cool and interesting mechanic where he has his like shadow form come in. He has like 2 versions of himself. And what's cool about this is that you can use this to deter any direct back line damage that's coming in, anyone that's like specifically skipping over your tank. And because they'll hit his shadow version of himself and not him, and you're not losing anyone as a result of that. So that can be extremely helpful. He also does a lot of damage too. Zangief, regular Zangief, I would put him in A. I think a great use case for him would be situational, and that would be when you're going up against an enemy Dhalsim, because he's going to decrease that flame damage that your entire team is taking, and that can be the difference between a win and a loss for you. So sometimes it might be helpful to swap him in, maybe swap out, be Zangief, or have him in alongside Bison as well. Next, we've got regular Guile. I would put him in A or S maybe. So this is what I was kind of talking about earlier. Tiering these fighters is I don't want to say controversial, but it's something that you have to be careful about doing because it depends on who you have, right? If you are doing a lot of armor break stacking, right? You're running Cammy, you're running Chun-Li, so you get additional damage based on the armor breaks. If you have regular Guile and you are able to add him in, you're able to slot him in well so that you're getting even higher amounts of armor break stacking, then I would believe for that specific team that he would then be an S. And I'm going to leave him an S because I don't really think that you would use him for anything else. If you want to maximize his potential, then you're using him with Chun-Li, you're using him with Cammy, and you're going to see him do extremely well. So we'll leave him an S as a result. We'll just put him down here. I don't even remember his name because he's not even worth using. I think he attacks the back line. I think is it Guy? I think his name's Guy. But that is just a hero that's not really worth using. Attacking the back line's cool, I guess. But I think, honestly, if you want to do that, if you want to focus that, then I'd probably look at using Sea Viper instead. E-Honda's kind of gimmicky. I do see some use for him. And I do think that his bullet wall is pretty awesome. But I do think it's pretty situational. So I don't know how much use you'd get out of him overall. We'll put him in A because he does have value. Like, he's not a bad tank at all. But you're only going to use him sometimes, right? So I don't think that you need to really focus on building him specifically. I might even put him in B as well. I don't know. I felt like he was maybe the best tank in the game for a while, and like now I'm kind of second guessing it because I haven't used him anymore. Like I did at first, and then I just kind of quit. I'm gonna put him in B. I think Zangief's a better tank than E-Honda. Hugo. Nobody likes Hugo. He's not good. Jury is definitely S. She deals a ton of damage. I have heard from other people that she becomes very important in the late game, and you're going to need her especially for passing the story chapters and also for some of like the boss fights and things like that. Mad Ryu, he got a little bit nerfed, but he does have really high damage output. I think I'll probably put him in S. I don't use him though, to be honest with you. I haven't needed him to get through anything. There are a lot of people that say like you definitely need to have him to get through like these story nodes and everything, but honestly, I don't use him. I don't use him. I've never used him. I haven't put any fodder into him at all. He's A+ for me, so I don't know, but I know a lot of people do like him. I guess maybe I'm just kind of putting him in S as like people pleasing because I kind of don't feel that way. I'm going to stick with how I feel. I'm going to put him in A. I think he's good. I think he helps a lot of people out. I don't need him. I don't know. I've never needed him. Makoto is also a really good tank. I would put her alongside Zangief here. I love the AoE stun. She's definitely a strong tank to use. If you want a tank that plays the tank role but also plays kind of a support role and deals some damage, Makoto's great for that. Mayor Cody, I wouldn't use him. I don't even have him. I mean, Rose is great in a lot of ways, a lot of buffing, she's even got heal too, and she's got some good damage. We'll put her in S. I think that that's a good spot for her. T-Hawk, I use him as fodder, honestly. I don't see much value in him. He's maybe the second worst tank, the worst being Hugo. In these two, I think they fill a role when you do play them together. I don't use them, and I think that's kind of going to be like a last ditch effort. Like you're trying to get through an event and you need to like cycle out your lineups and everything. Like maybe you can piece these two together to pull a win off, but I don't know. I don't think that they're that great. I will say this though, we do have the update that just came out. So we do have Trendy Cammy and we have Street Poison, and we do have the Gore Ken as well. They're not in this tier list. I didn't have the pictures for them. But the reason that I made this tier list in the first place was because I wanted to talk specifically about Street Poison. So Cammy is still here, right? We're going to pretend that this is Trendy Cammy. I think that Trendy Cammy would also be here. I think that we would leave her in the S tier. They would both be here. They're kind of doing the same role, but the factions are different. Trendy Cammy is going to be in the Thunder faction, so you're also like stacking Shock with her, which is really cool. I think that she would pair well. Again, Trendy Cammy, I think would pair very well with like combat guile and poison. I think that there's definitely something there with her being introduced to the game. But the one I really want to talk about is Street Poison. So again, Street Poison stays here. Honestly, I'm going to take Street Poison and I'm going to put her up here. This is my opinion. Okay, you can disagree with me, but Street Poison's first skill, increasing crit damage by 30%, is absolutely insane. And the reason why I put her in SS now, right? Again, we're pretending that this is Street Poison. She's going into SS because I was stuck on 22, 26 or something for like days. I'm talking like 3-4 days probably. I couldn't beat it. And then the new release came out and we got Street Poison, and I was lucky to pull her in the divination. I ran Bison, Chun-Li, Elena, and I put Street Poison in the tag position, just running skill 1. So I wasn't even using any of Bison's skills. I was doing Chun-Li for her super, getting the AoE. Then I was doing Street Poison for the crit increase. And then Elena for the defense boosting and the speed up on her slot 2 skill. And then I was using Chun-Li's 3rd skill. So that alone, like, she's my only one doing actual skill damage. And I'm not kidding you. The introduction of this, and she was just A tier. That's it, just A. So like if she ended up getting hit, like, she would be out for sure. But doing this, making this change, this one single fighter brought me all the way up to 25-8, which is where I am right now. I went up floors in the Supreme Fist as well. I saw changes in my arena fights. People I couldn't beat before, I was now beating. It is insane. And if you haven't tested the mechanic out yet, definitely do it, because you only need her as an A tier. Throw her in the tag position so she doesn't get eliminated early in the game. Make sure that you're healing up. I was even running Bison, Chun-Li, Cammy, and then Street Poison. I wasn't even using the heal from Elena anymore. I had her out. She was just in the assist position. And that alone, with that extra crit damage going super, slot 1, the crit damage increase. Again, this is Street Poison. And then Cammy's 2nd skill, and then Chun-Li's 3rd skill. So you're getting the armor break stacking, you're getting the increase in crit damage, then you're getting that increase in damage just due to the armor breaking. It is wild. I also in Shadow Legends went up astronomically in the damage that I was dealing just by introducing skill 1 from Street Poison. So definitely consider adding her to the lineup. I'm going to show you guys now. We're going to hop into the game. I'm going to swap this over. I'm going to show you just some of the footage that I have from the last couple days. Well, last day really, using Street Poison, because you're not going to believe it. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Some of the things that I was able to beat simply by increasing crit damage. So let's take a look at that, and you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing that we're going to do here is hop into the Shadow Fist and see what we can do here in the tower. So I'm running Chun-Li first, and then we're doing the first skill from Street Poison, and then we're doing 2nd skill from Elena, and then we're doing Chun-Li's 3rd slot. And you're going to see here that the crit damage is just awesome. And I know that Elena and Street Poison get wiped here, but at this point, it's already done. I'd already dealt enough damage that I didn't have anything to worry about. Chun-Li's just going to clean it up. The AoE with that additional crit is absolutely wild. What a crazy fighter to introduce in the game at this point in time, honestly, especially considering the fact, I mean, I mentioned that she is A earlier, and she was for a lot of the progress that I made with her since getting her. She is A+ now. I did get a second Street Poison, so I was able to upgrade her a little bit, but honestly, it's irrelevant. Her skill isn't changing based on her grading, so I don't think it's really that important. She could be A, she could be A+. It will matter when you get her to SS, because then you're going to unlock her fighting spirit, and that will, if I remember correctly, I believe it gives you additional stacks potentially for that crit boost, the 30% crit boost, but it also gives you a speed up, which is really amazing. So really, I mean, anything between A and S+, it doesn't matter, because she's not doing any damage anyway, and you saw that from the stats that I showed. She doesn't even deal any damage, but she will become much better once you do have that fighting spirit unlocked. So anyway, now we're going to hop into another fight here. This is Shadow Legends. I mentioned my buddy having a really crazy poison, and that's the one. I'm actually borrowing it right now, and I'm using it as an assist on Chun-Li. And we're just using Street Poison as the tag. She's coming in, doing her first skill, increasing the crit damage, and you're just going to see here how much damage we're going to be doing with really just skills being slotted for Dulcim and Chun-Li. I could be using the AoE in the third slot for Bison, but he doesn't do as much damage at this point in time as my Chun-Li's doing. So even though I am trading like full AoE for situational AoE and then basically just a single target attack that's coming with Chun-Li's third skill, it's still doing better, but it's just not even necessary. I mean, Bison's passive does damage, which is great, but I definitely recommend for Shadow Legends watching your time, put it in 2x, watch your time, and use that to timestamp your progress, because that way you'll know how well you're doing in a round, and then you know whether or not to back out and reset, because if you back out, it doesn't use an attempt. You can just keep retrying it until you get a better RNG for your crit. So watching the time, you can look at, your final fights and see what time you're entering that, and then you know how well you're doing in that run. It's a really nice trick for you just to help you maximize your rewards, basically, because the more damage you deal, the higher points you get better rewards. So 21 million, not too bad, especially considering we're using an A+ Street Poison who's not doing any damage whatsoever, and we're not using Elena, we're not healing, we're just powering through it. My Dulcim's not, anything crazy. He's got good gear. I have the faction bonuses going on for him, but nothing has been leveled that much. I don't even have his fighting spirit unlocked. Same thing with Bison. He's looking pretty good. I need his fighting spirit to get to 20. That gives an additional 20% damage boost to everyone once he goes into the Infernal King, so I'm waiting on that. Chun-Li is where I have dumped everything. Anything good that I have that can do upgrades, it all went to her. As you can see here, she's like ready to go. But I don't have any other fighters that look like this at all. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. I hope you found the tier list useful. And I look forward to sharing more of the game with you as time goes on. And yeah, take a moment, subscribe, throw a like on the video, and we'll see you next time.